we are talking again about these SSNIT hotels that are having majority shares sold to Rock City group of hotels. We want to talk about it. Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa is the Honourable Member of Parliament for North Tongu. He is the petitioner to CHRAJ on this SSNIT hotel sale. He's here with us in the studio. Last time we spoke to him, last week, he was out of town. He's here now, and he's in the studio. Good morning to you.
Hi, good morning, Kojo. Good to see you. Good morning, Winston.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Thanks for coming.
And good morning to Mama V as well.
Yes. Now, joining us over the phone is Kobina Ata Badu. Kobina Ata Badu is no stranger to this show. He's a procurement specialist. He's a management consultant. He was on Newsfile. And in fact, it was such a pity he ran out of time because he was really opening up some of these issues to our understanding. So we thought, why not bring him back on the Super Morning Show? We can get further education. Kobina, what a pleasure. Good morning. Oh, we're yet to have Kobina connect with us, but he will join this conversation. Let's get straight to it. Mr. Ablakwa, you've already shared lots and lots of details from your petition, but it looks like from the volume of documents you have with you today that there might be even more. What's the latest in this matter?
So we're still unraveling a lot, and before I delve into new discoveries, let me disclose two pieces of important information exclusive to your network. The first one is that our good friend Professor Kweku Azar has responded positively to my request to lead a team of lawyers that I'm putting together to have a private members bill on this matter of politicians participating in the sale and purchase of state assets. I want us to end it once and for all, because this has opened a can of worms, and it will appear that it started, gradually, very small forms. Now it has taken a dimension which clearly is not in the national interest, and people are taking advantage. Some politicians are taking advantage of gray areas, loopholes, matters that appear, amorphous or ambiguous or not very settled, and are just engaging in naked conflict of interest. So I want us to have a law that expressly bans 7 politicians in executive positions from participating in the sale and purchase of state assets. And I want to thank Professor Kweku Azar for leading the team. So in the coming days, we'll be finalizing our work, and we'll share with the public what we have done. And I know that the Right Honourable Speaker, who is forward-looking and is a reformist, will really support us in this regard. So that's the first exclusive information I want to disclose to you this morning. The second piece of information I want to disclose to you, which is related to the new developments that I am discovering, is that on the 23rd of May, last Thursday, and on Friday, I received a call from the regional police commander acknowledging this notice. I have served the Ghana Police Service with a notice of demonstration, because latest documents have intercepted reveal that they are going ahead with this sale and purchase, and that the petition at CHRAJ has not stopped the parties. Clearly, they are taking advantage of the lacuna in the CHRAJ law, which does not give them injunction powers. So CHRAJ cannot injunct, doesn't have that power. And I think that moving forward is one of the amendments that we need to bring to the CHRAJ law. So I want us to scale up the public agitation, ratchet up the pressure, and get all of these public officials who are clearly not acting in our interests. They should listen to the outrage, the public anger, and stop what they are doing. But they are refusing to. So in compliance with the Public Order Act at 491, I have notified the police that on the 18th of June 2024 at 9 a.m., we shall be leading a public manifestation, a demonstration against this sale. We intend to begin, I've given them the route. We intend to start in front of the Labadi Beach Hotel, proceed through La Palm Royal Beach Hotel, through the ministries, and then end at the Jubilee House, where we intend to present a petition to His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Because these are all his appointees, all of those who are acting, the people selling as SSNIT, his cabinet minister who is keen on buying, they are all his appointees. And he told us that if people want to come into his government to do business and to make money, they should know that his government is not the place for them. They should go to the private sector, stay there, and make money. They shouldn't come to the public sector and use public office for personal gain to do business. So I'm wondering what's going on and why it's been more than a week. The TUC has spoken. The coalition of civil society organizations against corruption have spoken. They held a press conference asking the president to directly intervene, to step in. We have heard Professor Yanka, we've heard Dr. Jimandua, and many, many others, from clergy, academia, experts, procurement experts, analysts, many, many people, young people, the workers who are at the risk of losing their jobs in these hotels. And yet the president refuses to speak, and his people are going ahead. So that is the next phase. If they thought that they will take advantage of the CHRAJ challenge of not able to impose an injunction, and so they will try to finalize this deal before the CHRAJ report is concluded, then they are mistaken. We are ready to hit the streets, and we have notified the Ghana police.
When's the proposed date of the demonstration?
18th June. It's a Tuesday at 9 a.m.
Is it your concern that CHRAJ will not have initiated or progressed with your petition by then?
Yes, my experience with CHRAJ is that they like to do a thorough job. They like to invite all parties. They like to listen to all sides and be very investigative in their approach, as the Constitution expects of them. And because they also have logistical challenges and staffing challenges, funding challenges, they often take quite a great deal of time. For example, I have another petition before them, the National Cathedral, Reverend Kusi Boateng, Kobina Ata Badu conflict of interest petition. It's taking them 16 months. 16 months, even though I thought I had done a lot of the research and investigations already. But they take their time. If you look at all their cases, some of which I've brought here today on conflict of interest, particularly the locus classicus, the Anani case, it took them a considerable amount of time. So that has been their tradition. And because they don't have injunction powers, sometimes some public officials, public officials who are very, very responsible and responsive to the sensitivities of Ghanaians will normally freeze and stay their hands pending the outcome of the investigations. But others try to take advantage. And from what I'm picking up from my deep throat sources, people are proceeding as though, it's business as usual. There's really no qualms. And so that is why we are doing this. I don't expect that by June 18, CHRAJ will be done, looking at their history. And because for demonstrations, you also need the Public Order Act says at least 5 working days to notify the police so they can put themselves together and organize. And you also need days to mobilize and create awareness. That is why we chose June 18, so that we can really organize a massive one. And hopefully, if before June 18, the president intervenes, because the president alone, can step in and call his appointees to order. He appointed the Director General of SSNIT, Mr. Kofi Osafo-Maafo. He appoints the Agric Minister and all Agric Ministers in our country under his leadership. And so he has the power to stop them, to tell them to back off. But to the extent that he has not done that, and indications are that they are defending this. Honorable Minister for Agric was on your show the last week, and we had an interesting face-off. Clearly, he's keen on proceeding. He doesn't have any remorse. And so we need to really step up.
Let me ask you about that, because you put to him several of the technical issues that you are raising in your petition.
Yeah.
And he provided answers. Are you concerned that if the petition were to proceed in the same manner, that he would actually explain his way out of it?
he will always try to explain, but whether that explanation is sound, whether it's legal, whether it makes sense, is another matter. Look, I hold here the articles of incorporation. It's very clear. There are only 2 directors of Rock City, the Honorable Brian Champon and one Rosemary Clotte. Only 2. So when you claim that, oh, you are not really participating, you are not involved in day-to-day, I mean, there has to be at least 2 directors for board resolutions and all of that. Are you saying you are not participating in that? So it's only Rosemary Clotte. Then what is even the legality of those decisions? It's probably void. So again, that doesn't hold water. Then you come to the share structure. If you pay regard to these articles of incorporation, it states here that there's only one shareholder who has all the shares. It's here, and that person is the Honorable Brian Champon. Then you come here further to the articles of incorporation, the beneficial ownership details. It states again that there's a sole beneficial owner, and that's the Honorable Brian Champon. So you cannot, separate your interests. When Rock City makes profit, it comes to you. It won't come to North Tongu or go to Joy FM or anybody else. It comes to you. So you cannot claim that you don't have an interest in this matter. Then you see, even this claim that he is not involved in day-to-day, he is not going around, he is not acting in any way to show interest in this transaction. Unfortunately for him, the chiefs of the Edina Traditional Council have discredited that. I hold here a petition that the paramount chief, the Omanhin of Edina Traditional Area, Nana Kojo Kondua VI.
That's Elmina.
Edina
Yes,
is Elmina. Edina, yes, that's your hometown, so I know you are the expert. So it was addressed to the Director General of SSNIT and then to the Chief of Staff. And then it states, settlement of Golden Beach Resort land at Elmina. It has come to the notice of the Edina Traditional Council that the Golden Beach Resort, Elmina, has been offered for sale. This came to attention when Honorable Brian Champon, Member of Parliament for Abetifi constituency, visited the site with the investors. Our main concern is that the land on which the resort is situated is a property of the Edina Traditional Council. We are therefore calling your attention so that we all could solve the matter amicably. Yours faithfully, Nana Kojo Kondua VI. So, this is a revered paramount chief saying that he saw Honorable Brian Champon. He came to Elmina, came to the hotel with his investors, and they are checking things, assessing, preparing to take over. And the chief is saying, hey, you guys want to leave me out? Please, don't do that. Let's have a sit down and discuss these matters amicably. Very interesting letter. So, look, let's stop this, attempts to be disingenuous and to, try to play clever. I mean, the facts are there. People have seen you. Chiefs, revered chiefs, have seen you on location. I also have here part of the new discoveries I'm making, which SSNIT did not state in their May 19 press statement reacting to my petition to CHRAJ. SSNIT did not tell us that apparently they have mandated the transaction advisors, SEM Capital and Rock City, to go ahead and demand everything they want from the management of these hotels. Documents, lists of properties, and that the managers of these hotels should stand by for the Rock City team to quiz them, interrogate them as part of final due diligence. That is what really worries me, that clearly these people are proceeding, and if we do not scale up the pressure and do not show them how outraged we are about this deal, which really is not in the national interest and makes no sense. So let me read
What's the date of the instruction?
So this is dated 1st November 2023 by SEM Capital. is addressed to the Chief Executive Officer of Golden Beach Hotels, Ghana Limited. And the Golden Beach Hotels are Elmina and then La Palm. So it says, attention, Nana Domtie Onyona Kwache. Dear Madam, due diligence by Rock City Hotel. This is to bring to your attention that Rock City Hotel has been selected as a preferred strategic investor for La Palm Royal Beach Hotel and Elmina Beach Resort. As part of the negotiation process, Rock City Hotel is required to conduct a final due diligence on La Palm Royal Beach Hotel and Elmina Beach Resort. Rock City Hotel's due diligence request list has been attached. The names and contact details of Rock City Hotel's representatives are, and it lists them, Jessica Grensel, Anita Boachi, Louisa Okine, and provides their details. Please assist them accordingly, counting on your usual cooperation. And this is signed by Ebenezer Barnes, the transaction advisor for SSNIT. Then on 7th December 2023, Rock City writes to all of these hotels that it is preparing to take over. Attention, Nana Domtie Onyona Kwache. Dear Madam, due diligence by Rock City Hotel for strategic investment. We are pleased to inform you that Rock City Hotel has been selected as a preferred strategic investor for La Palm Royal Beach Hotel and Elmina Beach Resort. We are enthusiastic about the prospect of a successful partnership and believe that our strategic partnership will yield mutual benefits. As we move forward with the negotiations, one crucial step in the process is to conduct a final due diligence on La Palm Royal Beach Hotel and Elmina Beach Resort. The purpose of this due diligence is to ensure that both parties have a comprehensive understanding of the current operational, financial, and legal status of the hotels. Upon receipt of the required documents, our team of experts will conduct a thorough review, which may include but will not be limited to financial records, operational procedures, and legal documentation. To facilitate a smooth and efficient due diligence process, we kindly request your cooperation in providing the necessary information as well as to access the relevant personnel, counting on your usual cooperation. Thank you, yours sincerely, for and on behalf of Rock City.
If I may, I mean, is this not a normal part of a procurement process? I'm not an expert. Luckily, we have one here we'll be hearing from in a moment, Mr. Kobina Ata Badu. But, I mean, is that not what you would expect? If someone has been selected as the investor, would they not want to look at the books, go in there, check things out? Is this not normal?
Definitely. It's part of the processes. But the point I'm making is that from my checks and talking to those who are running these hotels, these processes are continuing. And my concern is that I would have thought that with the objection that we have raised, and they are fundamental objections, constitutional, remember that we have said that the Honorable Brian Champon is in breach of Articles 78.3 and 98.2 of our Constitution, the supreme law of the land, which he himself has admitted on this platform. He was talking about knowing some other NDC MPs who have not also sought the Speaker's permission. I don't see how that is relevant. I mean,
he said it doesn't apply in his case because he's a shareholder. And gave examples of if someone, for example, owns shares at MTN, you wouldn't expect that every time they are buying or selling shares, they would go and tell the Speaker about it.
He's totally wrong. He is the sole beneficial owner. This is his transaction. It is his baby. He's at the center of it. Our chiefs are already writing about how they see him at the hotels, actively participating in this. And it's about the interest. Who benefits from this transaction? He's the sole beneficial owner. You know, when profit is declared, it's his. Nobody can challenge him on that. And you see, the constitutional provision is very, very clear that it is for potential conflict of interest, concerns of this nature. That is why, and you see, the committee continues to assess. It's not as if you go and apply, you are given the certificate, and that's it. The committee, the Speaker, continues to look into your business transactions, your business conduct. So these are matters that are very, very clear. And to the extent that SSNIT is continuing with this transaction, my sources in these hotels tell me that they are under constant, requests to hurry and finalize the deal. And indeed, organized labor has also confirmed that their reps have told them that on the board, they told them to halt the process since my publication, that's when it occurred to them that, look, this thing has been proceeding despite we asking that they halt the process. And there are checks. Indeed, only last Saturday on TV3, the TUC said that their checks also revealed that they are proceeding as if all is well. So that is why we are insisting that we need to increase the campaign, which really should make SSNIT stop this transaction, which is not in the national interest. Look, you have hotels doing well. SSNIT is a pension fund manager. We are talking about long-term investments. These are fixed assets that will always appreciate. Can you imagine the value of land now, beachfront land at La? I mean, you won't even find it. I mean, 35 years ago when that land was purchased, do we know the value today at Labadi? Nobody is talking about that. And we will come to discuss some of the figures I have seen on the valuation. You'll be shocked. Do you know how much Elmina is going for the 60% shares? Only $5 million. You don't believe it? Only $5 million. Total ripoff. It's a giveaway. Beachfront. I mean, so look, this cannot be in the national interest. We are talking about workers' contributions used to purchase these hotels, and these hotels are doing well. Labadi Beach Hotel paid dividends of 25 million only last year. The year before, 10 million. I have seen the books of Ridge Royal. Very healthy financial position. Indeed, SSNIT has spent our pension contributions not too long ago to renovate the place. I'm sure you're conversant with Ridge Royal. You go and visit your folks.
A room there this
yes, it's always full. They have
Yeah.
100% occupancy. Always full. Recently renovated. And you should see the figure that it's a total giveaway. So even La Palm, which is challenged, Elmina, it's a management issue. I mean, appoint the right people and stop your bad management practices. I put out a memo last week from La Palm where somebody acts as acting manager and says that pay me $3,000 a month. I mean, where does this happen? And why won't, if these are your management practices, why won't you have financial difficulties? And in any case, a struggling hotel is able to pay his acting manager $18,000 for just acting in that capacity for 6 months. And you see, the question that I keep asking, and you see, politicians, public officials in this country, and it's getting worse. Look, you hear government communicators say, oh, these hotels are not in the national interest in terms of profits. They are a drain. It's really creating a lot of financial difficulties for SSNIT. It's totally been run down. They speak as though it is crap. And yet, see how when it's up for sale, we are told that the Honorable Champon presented the best bid. And see how keen he is. Something that we are told, as for all of us, we don't need it. For Ghana can lose it. It's not profitable. It's not good. It's virtually scrap. And yet those who are taking the decisions at cabinet are so interested in it. And I keep asking, if you have the magic wand, you have the ideas to transform these hotels, why don't you make that available? That is why we send people to cabinet. Are you being fair to the Republic? So you have great ideas, but you only bring it to bear when it's privatized, when you take over the asset and it's now yours. But when you are serving as a public official, as a minister at cabinet, you will not share these ideas. Is that patriotism? I don't understand what's going on.
Yeah, I want to bring in Kobina Ata Badu at this point. And Kobina, thanks for coming. Good morning. We were listening to you on Saturday on Newsfile, and quite an elucidating submission from you. Sadly, we ran out of time before you could really complete your thoughts. But there was a question on my mind. Just as I was listening to you, I was thinking, we have all these procurement laws, very well written procurement laws in Ghana. Is there no step or stage in the procurement process at which the system itself would flag the fact that a minister of state is buying state property and stop it?
Okay, thank you very much for having me. And good morning, Honorable.
Good morning.
Honorable will bear witness to the fact that Ghana is replete with laws. So it's not a shortage of laws. Our problem is our observance, compliance, and the enforcement of the laws. So a law is the letter and spirit of something. So what informed why we did this? And what is written is what we want people to do. There's always a reason why those things are there. Now, it is incumbent on the people who have been appointed to manage it as regulators, to be the guardians, and they are the ones who should, if there's any contravention, they should flag it and use it. So if you read all our acts, there are always penalties for contraventions. How many of them have we followed through to the end? So if you take the procurement law, it says when there's a violation, there can be a charge of up to 250 penalty points, or a jail term of up to 5 years, or both. But since we started from 2003, ask the Judicial Service how many people have been jailed for up to 5 years on the basis of contraventions of the Public Procurement Act. I don't think there's any. And that is where the problem is. And I am speaking as a specialist or as a management scientist. And I'm only dealing with principles. I'm not a politician, so I'm not here to do any of that. So you ask yourself, why don't we have the appetite to follow through? And if you dig, you understand where influence comes in, where patronage comes in, where nepotism comes in. And there are a myriad of factors that is putting us where we are now. And as a people, if we don't get angry and rise up and get the people we have elected into office to do what they vowed to do, then it will only get worse. It won't get any better. That's my take.
So let's now get specific to this particular deal. And we've heard the numerous issues that Mr. Okudzeto Ablakwa wants CHRAJ to look into. We've heard about the concern around whether or not the minister even went through the proper processes to, I will use the word cure, even though I really don't think that process cures conflict of interest, but to mitigate conflict of interest. He suggested, Mr. Okudzeto Ablakwa's petition suggests that those processes were not carried out. Then there's an issue of how minority shareholders in one of the hotels is being treated. Then there's the question of even how the deal is being funded. I mean, you've been looking at this. I wonder, from the procurement perspective, what are the issues you flag on this one?
This is much less about procurement than anything else. It is a lot more than procurement. Actually, it has nothing to do with procurement, because the scope of procurement is to cover goods, works, and services.
Right.
Now, the sale of or disposal of assets, as in equities, shares, doesn't fall under the Procurement Act. So it is outside of the scope of procurement. However, they appointed a transaction advisor. That is technical services. So that process will be subject to the Procurement Act. So if we are to go into the details of how they even selected a transaction advisor, then we would go and check whether they complied with the act or not. This has more to do with M&A, mergers and acquisitions. It's about divestment of equities. It has to do with pensions, the management of pension funds. It has to do with corporate governance. It has to do with public financial management. It has to do with public-private partnerships. It has to do with general management practices. And then you come to the almighty ethics, code of conduct. So there are different dimensions to it, and if you pick each one of them, you can analyze them.
Walk us through what you have on these areas. What are the issues?
I'll start with pensions management. Now, SSNIT falls under pensions, and pensions in this country is regulated by the National Pensions Act. The National Pensions Act is specific about certain things. Interestingly, it dictates in detail what private pension funds can do with funds. But when it comes to SSNIT, which is the tier 1, it gives them a carte blanche. That means that SSNIT as a body corporate receives so much funds, because whatever we contribute to private sector funds are just 5%. 13% go to SSNIT. Now, those funds are left in the hands of the board for them to determine what they will do with. Now, the Act specifies who should be on the board. And that is the point I made on Saturday.
Just before the break, Mr. Ata Badu was going to explain to us how the law expects those who are to make decisions on how our pensions are invested, how the law expects those people to be selected and appointed.
Okay. So, Section 35(1) of the NPRA Act, the National Pensions Act, states that the governing body of the trust is a board of trustees consisting of a chairperson, 2 persons nominated by the president, at least one of whom is a woman, 2 representatives of Employers Association, 4 representatives of organized labor, 1 representative of National Pensions Authority, 1 representative of the ministry responsible for finance, not below the rank of a director, 1 representative of the security services, who is not a member of the Ghana Armed Forces, and the Director General of the Trust. Now, that's clearly the composition of the board. Now, from a corporate governance perspective, the structure is you have the shareholders, but because they can't be involved in the running of the business, they appoint directors and then officers. So directors and officers are agents of the shareholders. So in corporate governance, we call it the principal agency dilemma. How do you ensure that the officers or the agents are working for the principal? That is why very often you find the principal sometimes stepping down to be part of the directors, because he wants to be sure that his interest is fully covered. So if you find in the case of this specific situation, the minister is the shareholder, but he's also a director. Now, the directors are responsible for delivering the results of the business to the shareholder, the principal. And so the directors are the controlling mind. Now, when you call them a controlling mind, it means everything the business does directly is their responsibility. So they may not sit in the office on a day-to-day basis. They will work through the management or the officers, but they are part of the decision making because the officers report to them. So if you find someone, and if there's any responsibility for actions or inactions of the entity, you don't go to the officers. It's the director. So if anybody sues a company, it's the directors who go to court. And if there's any penalty, it's the directors who will bear the responsibility. Now, if you take this act, and pensions is a specialized area. Pensions is an aspect of insurance. If you take the Procurement Act, for example, it specifies that the chairperson shall be someone with competency, which is experience, and qualification in procurement, in public procurement. But here, it says a chairperson. So it means anybody with any background can be a chairperson. Now, as a specialized domain, there are certain competencies that you should find in the organization, and at best at the board level. Because if you read, we go to section 178, you will look at how they do the investments. And if you look at what has been stated there, and you come and check this board composition, and you're asking yourself, which of them has those competencies? So what I tasked Sami to do on Saturday was, can you do a background check of everybody? Because what I don't want to do is to impugn on the integrity of anybody. I don't know their backgrounds. But if you go and run a check on the backgrounds of the board, we would know whether some of these competencies can be found with them. So you need to know someone who understands annuation and superannuation. Those are about pensions. You need to mobilize the deposits, the payments that go into the fund. So revenue mobilization. Then, after you have received these funds, what do you do with them? So you need to have an understanding of investments and investment appraisal, because you need to understand which instruments to put the money in. In the case of the private sector players, the law has been clear. They are supposed to put them in government bonds and instruments. They have only a small percentage, about 10 or 15%, that can go into other areas because they don't want to expose their funds to risks. But with SSNIT, it leaves a carte blanche. They can do a lot. And it's in that section. I'll go there. So if you look at these people and we are looking at investment appraisal, you are looking at actuarial science. Actuarial science deals with doing projections. If we put this amount in this investment over, let's say, 20 years or 30 years, where would the fund today, what would it grow to become? And it is on the basis of that projection that you would place the investments there. You need expertise in fund management. So how do I place this fund here? What do I do to monitor the performance of that investment? Should I hold it? Should I let go? What do you do? That's fund management. And that's also a specialized skill. You need it. Then there's, of course, the aspect of finance and accounting and reporting. Then there's monitoring and evaluation with project management. So the Act allows them to invest in real estate, for example. So you need project management skills to be able to do investment in real estate. Now, if you go and check the backgrounds of the board, and you don't have people with some of these competencies, and these are the controlling minds, how do you expect them to guide the organization to make investments that are sound and prudent? They may be relying on the expertise of the officers to direct them. But the question is, can you actually supervise someone when you don't understand what he does? And you are taking what he says? If it goes wrong, how will you tell? That is why it is important that when you are composing a board, you have a mix of all the other interests, but competency cannot be sacrificed.
Right. That's an important point there.
So we go to section 36, and it goes to talk about knowledge and understanding of the board. A member of the board must, in relation to the Social Security scheme, have knowledge and understanding of the Social Security law and any regulations under it, any statement of investment policy for the time being maintained under section 67, and any other policies. So this actually the framers of the Act thought about the fact that they should have understanding. What they didn't do, which in other laws, like the Labor Act, it is specific about the qualification of the chairman and the constitution of the board and the expertise they should have. The Banking Act also does the same. The Procurement Act, to an extent, also does the same. So I'm at a loss why this one did not put any specificities to it. Now, when I looked at this, a number of questions came to mind. For example, government is crying about revenue. Taxes is one, but interest or dividends from state investments is another. The more we divest government interest in direct business, the more we limit the income stream that comes from that place. So my question is, what becomes of government's direct revenues that should go through SIGA? It means, and if we are hearing that one of those hotels posted a profit of 25 million, that is 25 million minus, assuming it is net, it means that's 25 million that is being sent to SIGA, to government. That next year, if this sale should go on, will be off the books of SIGA. that is profitability for the state lost. How are they going to handle that? How was this transaction structured? So are the bidders bidding for all the 6 or all the 4 as one lot, or they are bidding for each? If it is in lots, it means different people can have access to different organizations. But if it's in one pool, a lot, then we could be shortchanging ourselves because it may not be optimal. Then,
yeah, in fact, that raises a question. I mean, why would that even be the selected process? These are 4 different entities, 4 different what's it called?
With different P&Ls.
Balance sheets.
Exactly.
Completely different circumstances.
Actually, it started at 6. If you look at the 7th February 2022 notice they put out, the procurement notice, they said that they were divesting 60% of their stake in 6 hotels.
Yeah. So it's pretty much like someone...
So what has happened now is that after the Honorable Brian Champon was given, Rock City was given the approval, they went round and decided that they don't like Buzia and Trust Lodge. They don't like it. So they have given them that unfair advantage to choose the most profitable. So what they have done is to go for Labadi, go for La Palm, go for Elmina, and then the 4th one is Ridge Royal. Another profitable one. And then the 2 that, if you read SSNIT's justification, even in their 19th May statement, that they are really desperate for capital injection, they want to revive these hotels. That was their original motive, rationale for starting out this procurement process in the first place. It has been defeated because at the end of the day, Rock City has been allowed to abandon what is least profitable, what to them would not really make market sense, and have gone for the very profitable ones. How can this be in the national interest?
In fact, the more I think about it, the more the analogy that comes to mind is someone has a clothes shop and says, I'm selling a green shirt size 16, a black belt size 40, a pair of shoes size 18, brown, and some trousers, and none of the and saying that you can only buy them together.
So there's
selling
a reason,
them together.
There's a reason why
only
we
those who are interested in buying these 4 items should apply.
There's a reason why we lot. So in situations when you have a mixed portfolio, when you lump them, it is because you are aware that, let's say, some of the assets are non-performing, and if you leave it, nobody will take it. So you lump them up so that it will be a win some, lose some.
Exactly.
You can take from here to go and balance this one. Otherwise, you'll be stuck with the non-performing assets, and you know what to do with them. So you lump them. Now, if you create the lot, so in this case, based on what the information Sam has just given, if you allow one, and you went through a process, and if, assuming it was lumped, and other people presented their bids based on their evaluation of all the assets, and you have selected this one, but you go to change the rules of the game, then you have been unfair to the others. Then you should have gone back to all the others to allow them to revise their bids. Then everybody will put in his bid for the revised scope, so that you can get optimal benefits from the sale. But after you've narrowed it, if you change the rules of the game, then it is seeming that somebody is being given an unfair advantage, which is not right. Now, the other thing is that if you are coming to do such an exercise, you are analyzing the market. So before you came to the decision of selling it off, you did a pest analysis. You did a market analysis. Now the question I would ask is, what has been the performance of their peers? Because hotels are tiered, 5-star, 4-star, 3-star. So if you take the 5-star category, who are their peers in that category? How are they performing? If they are performing well and they are generating revenue, why is yours not generating revenue? Then you have to look at your internal. So you do a SWOT analysis. And it will tell you what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are. Probably your management practices are not right. Is it that because it is state-owned, there's a lot of undue influence from other areas? Is it that you have, let's say, credit policies that you are not applying? So people are using the services and they are not paying because they are state agencies, and you are not able to collect them because they are state agencies. So if you go into the management practices, you find out that probably a lot of things are happening that are not right, and this is why they are not performing. In that case, a sale is not the best option. Handing over management to a private management organization for them to be accountable to you and giving them specific targets to meet is probably a better option than an outright sale or a divestment. So the question is, what is the state of the investment portfolio of SSNIT itself? So real estate is just one. How much assets are under management? Where are those assets placed? Is real estate the worst of them? I'm sure if we take the entire portfolio and the assets under management and we begin to scrutinize them, you find out that real estate is not the worst option of all of them. So why are we focusing on real estate at this point? Because actually the reason why real estate is called real estate is because it is the real estate. And in this part of the world, real estate doesn't depreciate.
True.
It only appreciates. So then comes the issue of the cost or the value of the land. What is the valuation of the land? What is the valuation of the buildings? So it will be good for us to see what the valuers or surveyors report is on the value of the assets before you come to the books. Now, the value of a business that is being sold is not the balance sheet. There's more to it than the balance sheet. For example, future earnings is a major determinant of the value of a business. So if we are doing how do they call it, that tourism drive? Return to
the year of return.
The year of return and all those things. And we are having more foreigners coming into the country. We just hosted this football sports. We are doing a lot of things that are bringing people in. And we need more accommodation. And during this period, the places were booked. I went to one of them for an event. The place was fully booked. And their prices are not cheap. So, how come they are not making money that they have to be sold? So these are questions that you begin to ask yourself from a management science perspective. Does it add up? Then you want to see what's there. So as part of the investment portfolio, you want to see there's something we call the BCG matrix, where you classify all your investments and you place them, those that are your cash cows and those that are your dogs and all that. And you want to know which ones are for the kill. Is this one of them? And once you do that evaluation, you'll be able to tell, evaluating their portfolio. Now, what is the structure of this divestment? Is it just about the sale of 60%? Is there going to be a transfer of undertaking? In which case, what happens to employment? Because in transfer of undertakings, there's an element of protection of employment. So in the UK, they have a law. It's the TUPE law. In Ghana, we don't have a TUPE law. Our labor law tried to do something. Our labor law tried to do something to cover protection of employment when there are such changes in the system. But it doesn't specifically guarantee security, job security. So what happens in this instance? Because after the person has taken the controlling interest, he can do anything he wants if it has not been structured as part of the deal. So it will be good if we can see all of these things. Then comes the almighty issue of code of conduct. And the biggest question I have is that the person who has the controlling interest, the majority shareholder and the beneficial owner, is a member of government, is a member of parliament, and a member of a minister of state, and a member of the cabinet. Now, the supervising minister for this is the finance minister. So they are peers. Now, to what extent can he exert influence or leverage his influence in this transaction to his favor? Now, a lot of things, the Bible will sometimes say that all things are permissible, but not all things are beneficial. it is not always that something may be legally right, that it may be morally right. And sometimes the optics of it alone is enough to make you take a step back. This one, the optics do not look right, especially in the face of the letter that Ednaman Traditional Council wrote. Because those lands were acquired by state. If government did not pay full commercial value for them, and it is now being divested to the hands of a private person, what kind of reparation should go to the landowners? Then, because this is looking for public strategic partners, it is taking you directly into the domain of public-private partnerships. And the Ministry of Finance has a policy. Now, to what extent did the Minister of Finance ensure compliance to that? And non-compliance of it immediately moves it into the realm of non-compliance with public financial management. And then the questions will have to be asked. So those are the questions I have.
Okay. Wow. I mean, at this point, I want to. There's so much in there. My head is reeling. But I wonder. I mean, with what has been pointed out in terms of procedure and process, how does this affect your petition? Are you seeing that there are areas perhaps that need to be added to this petition?
I mean, definitely. This is a very brilliant elucidation, and I'm sure that officials at CHRAJ are listening, and they will broaden the scope to look at all of these matters. For example, in this discussion so far, what was the advice of the Attorney General? You know, did they seek the Attorney General's view on this matter? Particularly conflict of interest, Article 78, Articles 98, 284 of the Constitution. And what did the Attorney General advise them? If they ignore the Attorney General,
or didn't seek his advice,
or didn't seek his advice, you know, what does that say about this transaction? Then you see, he also talked about the transaction advisor, how the transaction advisor was selected. Even before selecting the transaction advisor, what were the processes leading to taking this decision that SSNIT should even divest itself of hotels in its investment portfolio? I mean, that's where we must start from. Was that right? Was that in SSNIT's strategic interest? Is it in the interest of Ghanaian workers? Because, as has been rightly pointed out, these fixed assets always appreciate. I know of other SSNIT investments, for example, in the transport sector. Horrible returns, actually no returns. They are not talking about that. They are not interested in that because that doesn't appear profitable to a prospective buyer who has insider information, who is sitting at cabinet. So what's going on here? And you see, if we had done this broad-based consultation, been scientific about these processes, taking the national interest to bear, we probably, Kojo, will not have lost, you know, we have lost $500,000 already. I intercepted last week documents from the Central Tender Review Committee on the transaction advisor. And it reveals that SSNIT is going to pay $491,986. I heard lawyer Senanu of the Coalition of Civil Society Against Corruption say that this figure, he's been doing this transaction advisor work, and he thinks that this is on the high side. So if there had been broad-based consultation and we decided as a country, the workers, already TUC is telling us that their reps on the board protested. If we had been listened to, they would not have proceeded with this transaction, because the first thing they did was to select transaction advisors. We will have saved $500,000. Now, what is also quite revealing when you go into this transaction advisor selection is that the Central Tender Review Committee is revealing on the 20th of December 2019 that there was an evaluation panel member who refused to sign. When they sent their documents for approval at the Central Tender Review Committee, there's an evaluation member who refused to sign, who was protesting. So who is that person? Then interestingly, I have gone into the articles of incorporation for SEM Capital.
I'm afraid our time is up, so it's going to have to be in a minute.
For SEM Capital. And you see interesting developments where a director, Hamdia Ismaila, at the time these decisions were being taken, was the general manager of the Venture Capital Trust Fund under the Ministry of Finance. And the Minister of Finance is the supervising minister. So, is it just sheer coincidence? Did she recuse herself? You know, did she play any role? Did she bring any undue influence to bear? So, it's untied, it's murky. Let me conclude, since you don't have time, that let us go back to the CHRAJ decision in the Anani case of 2006. CHRAJ went into extensive detail on what conflict of interest is. Said that even the perception, he talked about the optics, even when perception that it is not good for our corporate governance and good governance image, don't proceed. And you see, in 2006, and Anna Bosman must be commended. I'll read through her recommendations very quickly. She's now ambassador in France. God bless her. The recommendations is that 1, the commission recommends that the President of the Republic severely sanction the respondent, that's the former Transport Minister Anani, by relieving him of his post as Minister of State for abusing his power and bringing his office and government into disrepute. 2, the commission recommends that the Honourable Minister apologize to Parliament for misleading Parliament. 3, the commission recommends that the Honourable Minister apologizes to the government and to the people of Ghana for bringing the office into disrepute. 4, the commission recommends that ministers, deputy ministers, ministers of state, with or without portfolio, within 2 months of taking office, take a compulsory course on conflict of interest, which the commission, in conjunction with other bodies, would provide, together with their chief directors and other key staff as such special assistants. This doesn't happen. I have taken office twice, Deputy Minister for Information, Deputy Minister for Education. It didn't happen. Let me just run through quickly. The commission strongly recommends that the practice whereby, this is the last one, whereby ministers cultivate special assistants and move with those special assistants when they change portfolios must cease forthwith, unless those special assistants are paid directly from the consolidated fund. It is still going on. So we are not learning. The recommendations are there.
Well, let's see how your petition also pans out and what the outcomes of that shall be. But we've learned a lot from both of you today. Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, Member of Parliament for North Tongu, petitioner on this SSNIT hotel sale to CHRAJ. Kobina Ata Badu, procurement specialist and management consultant. It's not a sale to CHRAJ. He's a petitioner to CHRAJ. And of course, thank you both very much for your time with us. We appreciate it.